Hey everyone, a nerd named Mark here, and this is a little different of a video. Something I actually been trying to work on for a while now. This is my second attempt at this video. There is another version of it that I filmed back in like November, and I wasn't happy with how it came out, so I decided to redo the video over completely. So this is my first video of 2023. Happy New Year. Hope everyone was safe and you enjoyed your New Year's Eve, and you know, set your goals for yourself if you do that. I personally really don't. But the purpose of this video is it's how I accidentally became a Tokutuber, because that was not my plan at all when I was starting out again with content creating. Uh, as you know, if you look at my channel, a lot of Toku stuff, and then there's other stuff thrown in there. There's some anime reviews, the video version of my podcast, more recently manga and collection videos, and a lot of toys, but most of the toy stuff is Toku related. Now, that's not. In order for me to go over the timeline of how I accidentally became a Toku tuber and the growing pains of it and everything else, I have to go and tell you about the foundation of what I was trying to do when I started my channel and rebranded everything. Because this YouTube channel was kind of desolate. I left it alone for years. Did not really care about doing YouTube stuff. I was focusing more on podcasting and, going to conventions and doing coverage of that stuff from like a written or just straight up podcast standpoint. When I decided to get back into YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm talking about all this stuff on my audio podcast. I didn't have a setup yet to do a video version of the podcast. So I was like, what if I did quick little videos as like companion pieces to the podcast? So if I'm talking about a comic book on a podcast, you can't really see the cover, you're listening. So I'd do videos with going over my comic book hauls and this and that I would actually talk about on the podcast. And I didn't want, like, honestly, I was ignorant to the fact that even Toku stuff was on YouTube. Because like when I was on YouTube, I was watching like, reviews of stuff, like games and, what was coming out and like announcements. And other than that, I didn't really care about watching YouTube that much. Obviously, thanks to the pandemic, being at home, I had a lot of free time. So I didn't even know there was a whole like niche area of like a whole bunch of people outside of Japan making content for Toku. And the thing is, like, thanks to like me being more active on Twitter and looking up stuff, and honestly, I'm gonna attribute all of this to Mill Creek Entertainment. I'm not trying to kiss any ass. That's literally it. When they started releasing the Blu-rays of like Ultra Q and Ultraman, Return of like Ultra 7, stuff like that, that's when I was like, oh, we're getting Blu-ray releases. And then I was like, up until then, I was going to other sites to find my Kamen Rider seasons, because I have been constantly this whole entire time watching Kamen Rider. Usually I was waiting till seasons were over, or forgetting that, because like I wasn't using social media to keep track of that stuff. So from a YouTube standpoint, I didn't really notice it until I saw Squall Charles, and he did some of those Mill Creek Blu-ray reviews and talked about those. And then that's when, through him, by proxy, I figured out, I discovered Tokusatsu and everything that was on Pluto TV, and I was like, oh, like, we're getting this stuff here in the West. And then, I was really, that was kind of like the catalyst. That's what started it. And then looking through, looking up like Kamen Rider stuff, I was like, oh, what are, like, I'm always out of the loop. What's going on with this? I'm typing in Kamen Rider, and that's when reaction videos were very, like, getting big. And then I discovered channels like Pronghorn Heroes, Gem and Feed. They were doing their reaction. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this style, because like, there weren't really a lot of people that were doing reaction videos that like I found enjoyable. Not, I mean, I'm sorry, like even rewatching some of my reaction ones, those were my genuine reactions, but I didn't like my video quality and setup. And also, I was like, just watching week to week, it was a lot of work, which I'll get into it further in the video. Then I saw all these different types of content within the Tokusatsu, like Tokutuber, like community stuff. You had things like Marco Satsu, who was doing these deep dive history videos, which, as he points out, and I'll point out, you cannot use to supplement actually watching the season. Just saying, you can't. Then there was, Hockley's, who was doing these just like very community driven videos that were very outlandish. And, I was like, oh, these are great. How does he do these videos? Then I realized, oh, he's streaming on Twitch. And then kind of melding these videos with highlights and clips and putting them. I was like, oh, so there's all these different types, you know. And then you had someone like Estee who was doing these like Power Ranger lore videos, like, you know, about like seasons, this and that. And I was like, oh, and I was like, cool. Like, you know, Power Rangers, I always knew Power Rangers popular. There's a lot of, you know, YouTubers doing Power Ranger stuff, but that was really cool. And then there's, you know, people who do toy reviews, photography that I discovered later on. But when this is strictly on how the timeline that got me falling into making toku content, because that's still on my plan. Like, I was still buying merch regardless. I was watching the shows, just never really thought, hey, I should make YouTube videos about it. And especially when I started YouTube. Um, but I did mention Growing Pains, and I can't bring up Growing Pains without. And this is where my first version of my video kind of felt negative. Is I felt trapped in the Tokutuber bubble of content, because outside of Toku stuff, there's a lot of stuff I'm into, like manga and video games, comics. I like a lot of outdoorsy stuff too. Like, it's not just like nerdy shit 24/7 for me, you know. And I felt like for a while there, like it was the trap. How I felt trapped was I would make, you know, a video. Like, I would start reviewing like a show or a movie, and the numbers weren't there. And I don't always care about analytics, but the trending of, okay, I'll put out a Monster Hunter review when that movie came out, and it didn't do good, which I'm okay with because trial and error. Not every video is gonna hit, but I noticed people were subscribing or unsubscribing, and I did get some messages where people were like, hey, like, why are you like, you should do tokus. Like, why are you doing other stuff on your channel? It's like, well, it's my fucking channel. Like, you know, that's my channel. I want to put on there what I want to put on there, but I get the sentiment. And, you know, and then like doing the reactions was fun to document, like, you know, me as a now, well, I was 35 at the time, now 36, going to be 37, as a person in their mid 30s reacting to the show, like something that I've been watching since 2004. So I've been watching for 18 years, almost 19 years now. And that was really cool as from a documenting standpoint, like my reaction to watching the show live every week, when it would, like, well, live as in like I wasn't watching it and then watching again to react. Like, this was my genuine reactions. And there's something enticing about the views, the subscribes, the watch times. And that's when I got really heavy in the worrying about analytics. And I hate that. Like, someone who was in my field, I did data analysis before I moved on to another expertise area of IT. And I know the slippery slope it is when you get deep into the analytics of things, and then that's all you care about are the numbers. So so I made the decision. I was like, listen, between Toei strikes and claims, and that's why I had to stop reactions, because you can't, like, reactions are a slippery slope from the standpoint of you don't know what's going to get claimed, you don't know what's going to get a strike, and I'm not going to risk my channel on reactions when I'd rather have the freedom to create better content. And not better in the sense of like quality, because there are people who do reactions that I still watch that are really good. I'm saying from the standpoint of better content that'll last longer, from a non getting, like, keeping my channel around. Okay, I don't want strikes anymore. I don't want to lose my channel because I'm doing other things with it. And that's why I had to change my style up. I was like, okay, I'll just do reviews, because I used to love reviewing. Like, a lot of people notice I was a journalist, freelance, and I had my own site from 08 to about 2016, 2017. Not my whole site though. That's how long I was a journalist for. I had a site for like 5 or 6 years. But I liked reviewing things, but I knew the media form of writing reviews was kind of dying. Everything was short form content, YouTube videos, you know, TikToks, quick Twitter videos, whatever the IG ones are called. I think they're reels. Like, that was the new form of media for reviews. It was no longer written reviews. Like, no one has time to sit down and read, you know, a 7-paragraph review. So I was like, I'm just going to go back to reviewing. I like reviewing things. So there was growing pains there. So once, you know, Revice was ending, I was like, I'm not going to react anymore. Reactions are done. I need to stop. I can't keep putting my channel at risk. And you always have to change and evolve your content, especially with the guidelines here in Toei, just ruthless. Like, I've been struck for music, well claimed, but, and I've actually, it's been, I battled against it, but there was a time when I was doing a video and audio from that was being struck, but it was from a toy, and I was like, no, that's not a lot. This is a toy review. Sorry. So I think another thing too is the more easily accessible merch has really also been a factor for me to do toku content, and also put me more into that. Like, I build a lot of sodos. You can't see their offsite over there now because I'm still organizing all of this. And yes, my camera does look tilted. It's not tilted. It's just the angle I have the camera. I swear everything is actually even and level. So I'm still working on my display stuff there. That's why the camera is more closer, and I'm in this area instead of back where I normally am, because it's like a mess and it looks like trash. So because of, you know, all this merch, I was like, okay, like sodos and this and that. I was like, before I was waiting a while to get merch, and I wasn't really like, oh, I'm gonna do a video, this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna do a video. No one's doing a lot of candy toy videos here, this and that. So it was just another thing to add to the Tokutuber bubble that I was creating for myself on my channel. And all the whole entire time, I'm like, man, I'm buying manga, I'm reading manga, I'm buying all these comics. I mean, I talk about all this stuff on my podcast, and it's like, I'm not using all my resources. Like, I want to review manga, I want to review my comics and this and that. So I was like, do I cut down on the toku content, and do I just start adding that into it? So I have been doing that. I started that in December because being a tokutuber is very niche, and there's always new tokutubers popping up, and it's fun. You do collaborations. I love seeing what everyone else is doing. For me, I'm trying to broaden myself out, just out of that bubble, you know? And yes, I'm still going to do my reviews. I'm still going to do my toy announcements. I'm still going to do my toy reviews. I still am probably going to have, 3 to 4 toku videos coming out constantly, at least 2 guaranteed between candy toy announcements and, Kamen Geats reviews. And in between that, throw some manga in there. But another cool thing is, like, if I didn't get into this Tokutuber, like, hole that I fell into, I made a lot of good friends in here. I mean, K20 Customs, who's been on my podcast twice now, he makes the Toku patches and stickers. Like, really good friend of mine now. Really glad that that's someone I met through this. Carl and Rob of Tokudan podcast, like, been on their show before, constantly, talking, supporting each other. Like, 2 great people also. I got Tokusatsu, who's been on the podcast, Figure Photography. He does reviews and a podcast on his YouTube channel. Then, Zio Agito, who has a hilarious Discord community that, he gets crap for, which is kind of unwarranted. Just going to throw it out there. We've become friends. Like, there's a lot of people that I've met through doing all this stuff. Even Squall Charleston, who I mentioned earlier, I've talked to him. He's a great guy. Also, I've collaborated with Pronghorn Heroes with their Heroes Homemade, Gem and Fee. They both don't use social media as much for Twitter anyways, but they're great as well. Hockley's as well. I've talked to him a few times too. There's a lot of people that I've met through this that I chat with and this and that, and I'm like, oh, this is, really like a cool community to be a part of. And that's why, I say I'm accidentally a Tokutuber, because a lot of these people are basing their content around toku. That is, it's planned for them. Okay, I didn't plan this. I tell everyone this is a complete accident. Like, I never planned to be a tokutuber. I didn't. It was just happened. It just happened. And the thing is too, there's a lot of time that goes into being a tokutuber. And like I said, it's already niche here in the West. It is slowly getting more popular with more releases and this and that. And I also don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. That's just how I am personally. Like, I have a career. All right, I work full time, and the little free time I have to make content, I want it to be stuff like content I want to make, that I would want to see if I was on my channel for me. So that's why, when I lost more subscribers, because I put manga stuff up, I'm like, well, that's fine. don't watch it. So yeah, this is it's how I accidentally became a Tokutuber. And you know what? I'm not really mad about it at all, to be honest with you. I'm glad I'm in this niche little corner of the internet with, and I actually enjoy making this content. Doesn't mean I'm gonna stop. No, I just a lot of it's been brought up in a Discord that I'm part of with other friends that like aren't really to Toku, but they make content and they're like, man, you're like all Toku now, huh? And I'm like, no, it's just that's how it looks like on when you go to my video feed. But like, I'm not like I swear, like it's just all this other stuff, but it's just Toku. Also, from a content standpoint, is easy for me to talk about because I watch it, I enjoy it, I love it. So why not talk about it? But that's it. This is how I accidentally became a Tokutuber. Let me know in the comments below if you do like Toku stuff. What's like some of your favorite Toku stuff? Like I always like Toku conversations with people, and I try to figure out like a question I can ask at the end of the video to get people to like comment and talk and have conversations. But yeah, I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.